Hey, welcome everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Professor Nez, can you hear us, man?
Yes, I can. Am I in? Oh, okay. Hey,
We're
sorry.
in.
I thought you were going to bring me in. My apologies. How are
Oh,
you? Good to see you
no.
guys.
We're just jumping right into it
We're
today.
just jumping right in. I'm a fan of jumping right in. How are you?
Good. Well, I know our time is limited and you're a busy man, and I just want to take and make the most of every ounce of it that we possibly can.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Yeah, it is. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Increasing Influence with Miles Biggs Idea and our special guest, Professor Nez. Now, what's great about Professor Nez is you're an early adopter of LinkedIn. You've been ranked as one of the top LinkedIn consultants for the last 4 years. You're a personal branding coach and executive career coach. You have so many things, I had to put it on the screen if you didn't notice.
I know. We need more space. We need more space.
So we are so excited and happy to have you here, Professor. And I think it'd be great if you could just give a little bit about your background to our audience.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, like Dave said, I'm a personal branding coach and I help individuals and businesses craft a message online, building their online presence so they can earn more, grow faster, and stress less. Literally, what personal branding is, I like to simplify things. I'm not a fan of complications. It's just literally modern communications. That's what it is. It's taking ownership of how you are perceived in the modern world. In the modern world, everything is taking place on this thing called the internet, commerce, banking, hiring, connecting, everything, consumption, information, media, everything is taking place in this online ecosystem. And it's just, nothing's changed. I mean, this goes all the way back to Aristotle. Nothing has changed in 2,000 years. The only thing that has changed is technology and the medium. And so you still have to know who you are. You have to understand who you are, what you can bring to the table. And then you have to somehow communicate that and get that across so you can be understood. If you want to advance your career or even maintain your career, people need to know who you are. You need to show them. Same thing with growing a business or an online business. Even if you're a brick and mortar, you need to somehow get that message across that is compelling enough to ensnare the right attention. And that's what I'm all about. And one thing I'd like to say, if you guys don't mind, it's really comes down to one major component, and that is giving. Givers of the world, givers rule the world, not takers. And the more that you give, people in the online space and business and even, executives that I work with, clients, they feel a little bit reluctant and reticent to share information because they don't want their competitors, or they're always kind of teetering on this sort of tightrope of do I say this, do I say that, or I don't want to give everything away. Give it all away. Trust me, give it all away. The more that you're a giver, the more it's very ironic and paradoxical, but it's funny. The more you hold back, the less you gain in that kind of recognition, and the less that you gain in that powerful online reputation. The more that you give, the money comes, the clients come, the leads come, the attention comes. That's what it's all about. Sorry, was that too long?
No. You know what? It isn't.
You can end it right
I got too pumped up. I've had 2 espressos. I apologize.
That's right. You're on California time, so you're still in those getting ready for the day.
Yeah, I'm still. I swear to you, I'm wearing pants. Don't make me stand up.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. I was gonna talk about that.
We won't confirm.
I would be willing to bet 99% of the world is sitting there in a nice shirt, and then they still have the pajamas.
Oh man, yeah. There are Zoom conferences happening right now in their Hanes. I can feel it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? You hit the nail on the head, being that we're in the construction world here, because right now, with so many people unemployed, what's happening with the crisis around the world, it's taking a big impact on our industry and everybody else's industry. Now more than ever, increasing your branding, your influence, and giving. See, that's the hard part here, because right now there's a lot of people in the I need mode, right? Because financially they're hurting, and I think there's a big what's the word I'm looking for? There's a really big idea behind what you said. I guess it's big ideas, right? There's a really big idea behind that, and
Yes.
and the big idea is the more you give, the more you put yourself out there. and not expect something in return.
Yes.
Is what I learned. And I think that's what you're saying is where it's going to come back to you in boomerang style.
Yep.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have to understand that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people out there that are giving advice. There's a lot of people out there that are demonstrating who they are and what value you can bring to the world. And so it's not like people think that they're so original, or people think that their ideas are, should all be copyrighted. You guys don't understand. This has been around since the dawn of time. It's literally just getting your message out there. It's information conveyance. It's just literally, I need to try to, before I can do business with you, before I can hire you, before I can opt in, quote unquote, I need to know who you are. I need to know if I like you. I need to understand what it is that you can do for me. And so it's all about giving and servicing. That's what it's all about. There's another kind of paradox is people think, by being successful and by increasing profits and increasing revenue, which so many are conducting business and branding that way, it's all about the bottom line. And don't get me wrong, money is important. But what they don't understand is that when they only focus on that and they only focus on metrics that are going to improve their bottom line, they're losing out on that peopleness, that humanness, connection, relationship building, collaboration, service. It's all about servicing. And the more that you serve, the more that you believe in what you're doing, guess what? Your profits are going to, you don't have to worry about your profits. Your profits, your bottom line are going to skyrocket. The more that you focus in on tailoring everything to what I like to call your ICA, your ideal customer avatar. And this goes for people who are trying to advance their career, anything that you're trying to do in today's age. You're trying to sell products, goods, services, get leads, service. I call it ABS, always be serving, and watch what happens. It's a beautiful, beautiful illustration of the times that we're living in right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Miles, what's your take on that? Because you live and breathe this stuff. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Get in here, Miles, for crying out loud.
I'll just say ditto on everything, right? We said it's, you haven't watched all of our streams, I'm assuming, Nez, but
I watched every single one last night. I stayed up until 6 a.m.
Yeah,
but you just reiterated a lot of what we've said, right? And so it's great to hear from somebody else with your own spin, because it is very true. And it's easy to get hung up in, like Dave said, the I need and focusing on us, but that only goes so far. Eventually, that people tune out when you act that way. So if you put others' needs first, then eventually your own needs are met and often exceeded more than if you ever tried the opposite way. And
it's interesting. I love it. Sorry, Miles. It's interesting that you say that, and it's like, you guys, it doesn't matter if you're a vice president. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber. It doesn't matter if you're, in a B2B, commercial real estate. It doesn't matter what you're doing. By showing people, this is what branding is all about. By showing people like, hey, I just had, a conference with somebody and it didn't go well. And here's some takeaways that maybe have you had a meeting like this before? Just doing a 1 to 3 minute video on LinkedIn, and let's just say you're comfortable in your position. Forget about business, forget about growth, forget about getting a job or advancing your career. Let's just say you love the life that you have. You love the job that you have. By sharing information, by sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, this is what I mean by givers rule the world, not takers.
Yeah.
All boats rise. When the tides rise, all boats rise. You're doing good for humanity. You're doing good for everybody. You know what I always think about when I create content? You're going to laugh at this, Dave and Miles, and most people might laugh at this watching. I always think about my kids. When I look into that camera and I'm talking about branding, online business, social media, content creation, LinkedIn branding, whatever it is, I'm always thinking of my kids. I want my kids because these are, and I think about my kids because I want them to have the information, have something at their fingertips. Don't get me started on education because I can go off for days on how upset I am about the educational institutions. I've been a professor for over 20 years, as well as an online business owner. But I'm always thinking about, I want them to watch this and actually get something out of this, actually be able to apply it to their lives, apply it to their career, apply it to their business. If you think like that, if you have that intention, know your why. What is your why? People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And don't ever forget this too, guys. People don't hire your credentials. People don't buy your accolades. They hire and buy your energy. And you can't manufacture. You can't fake it till you make it. It's the worst advice I've ever heard in my life. Fake it till you make it. It's absolute phooey. I haven't used the word phooey since 1965.
I don't even know what the word phooey means, but it doesn't sound good.
It's absolute bupkis.
I love
So
it.
you've got to give it all away. You've got to give your information, give your expertise, serve. Now, this comes a lot easier as you get older. I empathize and I understand being a 20-year-old, being an 18-year-old, 25-year-old. You're thinking about yourself solely. You're actually hardwired this way. It's based on neurology and neuroplasticity. But as you get older, but if you can kind of consciously, as a young person, consciously shift your mindset around ABS, always be serving. By the time you're 35, by the time you're my age and Dave's age, we won't mention numbers, you're going to be on fire. Yeah. Dave, you look terrific. You're going to be in fuego. It gets easier as you get older because for some reason, whatever our biology and whatever the universe put inside us makes it easier for us as we get older to serve, and we see the value in serving. But all you young people out there, and maybe even people our age who've forgotten ABS, always be serving, everything is going to naturally unfold and naturally happen if you have that intention. It starts with intention.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, if you're just joining us, please hit that like and share button. We need to
share this out, yo.
Send it out there. Give a shout out. Share this, like this, and please tell us where you're from. I'm going to give a couple shout outs real quick on here. So we got George Ryman. Good morning from smoky, hot Phoenix, Arizona. What's happening, George? George, please meet Professor Nez.
Great to see you, George.
We also have Greg Ugaldi jumping around today. Greg is going to be on the show Monday.
Cool.
Now, Professor, Greg Ugaldi is the immediate past chairman of the NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. I'm sure you heard of that small group in Washington, D.C. But Greg's been in the Oval Office several times talking to the president and Ben Carson about our housing crisis that we're having. So every time Greg joins us, always got to give a shout out. Big support.
Holy macadamia nut. That's awesome. The Oval Office.
He just wrote this. He said, this is great. Of course, Jennifer, AKA.
Hey, Jennifer.
Nez Nation in the house. We love it. Let's scroll down here. So, and of course, we always talk about T-shirts. There's a new T-shirt.
Yeah. I love it. Hey, George, I get 10%.
That is a great T-shirt. Well, so let's bring some value in this conversation, Nez, in regards to LinkedIn. You just did a video, and I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about today. And I think how to use LinkedIn to get more leads with videos and articles fast.
Yes.
And right now, with everybody looking for work or trying to figure out the next move and what's happening, you said it just a few minutes ago that LinkedIn or online social media is the new resume.
Yes. Your resume, your transcripts, your list of accomplishments, your mission statement or whatever, it's just a two-dimensional context. And so the beautiful thing about video is video, they can get a more three-dimensional picture of who you are. To me, video is everything. It's all about video. And guys, you don't need fancy audio. You don't need fancy video. You don't need fancy anything. What you have in your back pocket right now suffices. That's all you need. You don't need fancy schmancy anything. And so what video does is it gives people remember what I said, people don't hire your credentials. People don't buy your credentials. They buy your energy. They hire your energy. What better way to demonstrate? You think a piece of paper can encapsulate Nez's energy? Not even close. I mean, I am like a locomotive in your chest. I mean, I come full steam ahead. I've got so much natural energy that when you add caffeine, I pretty much come close to combustion. And so when people, I can't tell you how many times, guys, how many times I've had a client say, man, Nez, I just watched your video. How can I work with you? Nez, I just watched your video on YouTube. I just watched your 2-second, 30-second, 1-minute video on LinkedIn. I'm sold. You are amazing. I love your energy. I love the way you talk. I love the way you classify things, the way your intelligence comes through. Video, video, video. It's everything. Now, the only thing that I would say is that LinkedIn video is one of probably the only few platforms. I'm a big believer in YouTube. I'm a big believer in IGTV, Facebook. There's other platforms, but LinkedIn is probably the only platform right now, as of this recording, as of this live stream, where you can get insanely monstrous. That's 2 adverbs right there. Insanely monstrous organic reach. We were just talking earlier before we went live. I've got a very nice following on my Facebook page, but when I post something on Facebook, less than 2%, maybe even less than 1% of people actually see it. And Miles brought it up so aptly that they want you to boost it. They want you to increase. They want to increase their revenue. If they're in business, nobody's in business to give stuff away for free. Nobody is. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you. We have all these free platforms, but they need to make money too, especially with their infrastructure. So LinkedIn is going to get to that point. It will. Eventually, this organic train that we're on is going to die. So take advantage of this now. I can't tell you. I have 2 multiple 6-figure businesses. I'm not trying to brag. There's nothing original about Nez. There's nothing unique about Nez. I just put in the time and I put in the work. And I know there's questions out there. Nez, how do you do it with 2 businesses, still teaching part-time at the universities, have 2 kids, have a mortgage, have a wife, holy macadamia nut. How do you do it all? I'm happy to answer questions there. But you've got to produce. You've got to produce with this thing in your back pocket. Let me pull this thing out. This is all you need, folks. You just need this. With this thing in your back pocket, you literally just point this thing at you and say, hi, my name's Dave Cooper. Hey, you know what? I had an interesting thing happen to me today. I worked with a couple of builders. I worked with a couple of manufacturers, and I learned a thing or two. I want to share that with you. The more that you do things like that, give, people are going to say, you've got these unbelievable platforms. I mean, there's 675 million users on LinkedIn. Sorry, almost 1 billion users on LinkedIn. Imagine the potential. You have the potential to reach millions, potentially billions of people. I mean, I do business with people living in Tunisia. I do people doing business in Singapore, in Morocco, in Australia. I mean, because of these beautiful platforms, and people just happen to see what I do through video. Hey, Nez, I saw your video. Hey, Nez, I saw your live stream. How do I work with you? Oh my God, it's insane. And you can create this automated funnel where you bring them in, okay, and you have them sign in and you have them fill out some forms, and there's just Google all that stuff. It's very easy. And boom, boom, boom. You've got lead after lead after lead after lead, which is potentially a monstrous increase for your business.
Yeah. Miles, I'm going to let you jump in on that, but I'm going to say real quick, I have a keynote that I do, and that's what we say. We say the power's in your pocket.
Beautiful. That's exactly right. I'm going to steal that. I'll give you 5%.
6% you got to deal.
Power's in your pocket.
That's it.
Yeah, and I couldn't bring my phone out because that's what I'm using right now to be on this live stream. So that's proof, right? I took it out of my pocket and I'm talking to you.
That's right.
So yeah, you get all those questions, and I think it's a fair point to start because everything you're saying makes absolute sense to me. I work in digital marketing. I do it on the side. Dave's built his business around video and marketing, right? But if someone's watching this stream, maybe you just cued an eye roll. Like, you're the successful guy, multiple 6-figure businesses. You make it look easy, but people don't believe that it's that easy, right? So what is step 1? Somebody's watching this and they want to get on that path beyond what you just said, where you take the phone out and talk into it. How did you get started? How do you recommend that other people get started?
I got started by just literally just by not overthinking it, not worrying about what other people think of me, understanding that your first 50 videos are going to be atrocious because everybody's first 50 videos are atrocious. You're going to get better and better and better. The biggest impediment that I see is people are like, Nez, I don't have your extrovert energy, your crazy, animated, passionate. Look, my wife is the exact opposite of me. I love her to death. She's the most important human being on the planet to me. When she speaks, she owns the room, but she has a completely different energy than I do. She's not this, when I come in, I'm going to chew up the stage. I'm going to blow up the camera. You know what I mean? But with her, it's very, very, I don't want to say subdued, but it's just more, it's a more less voluminous energy. It's less volume. It's less, I almost want to say craziness. Which is kind of true. But you know what?
Careful.
Own your energy. Don't play the comparison game.
Yeah.
And then just what happens is I've said this before on my show. I know Dave's heard this, Miles, but I've always said this game of personal branding, online business, hell, life, it's all about adaptation times infinity. Don't ever think that you're going to get it down. Don't ever think that okay, this is how there's no formula. Everybody is different. Every single business, every single brand, every single individual executing that brand is different. But there are some common denominators. People are usually stifled by what other people think of them, or they're stifled by comparisons. Look at Nez, look at Dave, look at Miles, look at the way that they do it. How can I do that? I don't have that kind of energy. I don't have that kind of execution. I don't have those kind of communication skills. Yes, I love that. Put it up. That's a beautiful card right there. Do it scared. There's nothing you don't need to be like anybody else. And so the way to start is to understand, have the right expectations. This is all mindset. Have the right expectations. You're not going to be knocking it out of the park your first 2, 3, 5, 10, 50 videos. You look at any famous YouTuber, influencer, Instagram, LinkedIn influencer, their first 50, maybe even more than that, 100 videos are absolute garbage. That's French for garbage. I don't know why I say it like that. I just have fun with it. But they're garbage. And so, but you get better. You get better. And it's interesting, talking about kids and younger people, and we had Dave's daughter, come in before we went live. I talked to a lot of kids about this too. These are skills, whether or not you build a business or whether or not you build a brand, these are skills that I think are going to come in handy. I mean, look what's happening right now, right? I mean, I tell my clients all the time, I've been using Zoom for over 5 years, way before it was popular. But guess what? These are going to become the new norms. So video marketing, video branding, camera branding skills are going to be essential skills, much like soft skills or hard skills. I think these skills, being able to communicate with purpose in these mediums, is going to be an instrumental skill that you can later use as an asset for getting jobs, advancing your career, growing your business, whatever, let alone that they're important right now. So to just get started, have the right expectation, but know that you're going to get better. Don't compare your beginning with somebody else's years and years of practicum. You can't do that. That's not fair. You're comparing your starting point to somebody else's 10 years into the game. You need to understand that everybody started with nothing. Everybody started not knowing what they were doing. Everybody started experimenting. You got to tinker. And as you gradually get that momentum and you keep doing it and you fight that mentality that I suck, fight that mentality, this isn't going anywhere, because it's a long game. It's a very, very much so a long game.
Yeah.
Watch what happens.
Well, listen, I've been doing video for 5 years and I got pushed into it. I was, Dave, you have to do videos. It's the next thing come for the company. I had somebody named Angel who pushed me to do it. And then I did it and I kept doing it. She goes, stick with it. I didn't have likes and shares. And when I look back on them, they're horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. And I was going live, but I will say it's changed my life personally. It's changed my life professionally in a huge way. And one thing I learned outside of doing it scared is just be yourself. People like reality TV for a reason. Do not be scared to pick it up, because, even an introvert, my wife's like, she's an introvert. She's, she comes on camera every once in a while, but it's not her favorite place to be.
Yes.
But the reality of it is she's herself, and people see that, and that's what they like. And I think that you'll be surrounded by the people that migrate towards you, right? You're like a magnet for people when you're yourself. And I think you're absolutely right on everything you just said right there.
Well, first of all, it's impossible to sustain not being yourself.
Right.
Like you could fake it, until you make it, which I think again is atrocious advice. But here's the thing, trying to maintain that and sustain that over time is literally an act of futility. As Abraham Lincoln once said, there isn't a human being on the planet with a good enough memory to be a successful liar, right? So you have to, the whole thing about being yourself is not only are you going to attract the right people, but let's just say that you're successful not being yourself. You're attracting an audience that likes this artificial self. And how can you maintain that? You can't maintain that. You're going to be found out. You're going to be discovered. So start with going all in on you. And by the way, if anybody wants a perfect example of what I'm talking about, Miles asked a great question. Go look at my YouTube channel, click on oldest videos in the search filter. Look at my first, maybe even 100 videos. I was going to say 50, but my first 100 videos, oh my goodness. It's if that doesn't inspire you to get going, I don't know what will, because they are awful. That's how it is.
Yeah. That's like looking back at your yearbook. Right? It's like,
we all had hair.
My mother dressed me like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one thing to touch on something you guys both said, right? I think this idea of personal branding, right? You can't fake it till you make it. And you can't compare yourself. Personal branding is personal, right? It's like when people ask you a question about your personal finance, right? It's personal. What works for me might not work for you. And so I think that's why it's called that. It's a good point to bring home. And then to something you said about the ICA or a marketing persona, or whoever your target audience is, and you mentioned mindset, and mindset's one of my favorite topics. I think a big part about being successful in any sort of content creation is the fact that you have to get lost in the present moment, right? If you are staring at the camera and worrying about how many people are watching beyond the other two people that I'm talking to right now, as an example, if I was focused on how many people might see this, rather than trying to just show up powerfully in this specific conversation with just two people, then I'd drive myself crazy. And you have to have that level of energy, like you're saying, but just focus on who you're talking to, whether it's you're visualizing your kids, to your example, or who that other person is, your mom, right? Whoever makes you feel comfortable, just have a one-on-one conversation with the camera. Yeah. And the more you can have a one-on-one conversation, the more it'll apply to the masses. And when you try to have a conversation with the masses, you won't be talking to any one person because it's not going to apply to anybody.
I mean, think about your favorite books. Think about your favorite songs. Think about the things that inspired you. Maybe, excuse me, maybe it was a speech by a great orator. One person that comes to mind right now is Theodore Roosevelt. Imagine if Theodore Roosevelt worried about what other people think of him. Imagine if Bruce Springsteen worried about, if I put this song out, what if people don't like it? Or what if it sucks, right? Imagine, one of my heroes, Woody Guthrie, when he wrote his autobiography, which I recommend to everybody. That book changed my life. His autobiography, Woody Guthrie's autobiography, Bound for Glory. If, what moves you, what inspires you? It's storytelling. It's other people's stories. You can see yourself in those stories, and you learn. We learn most through anecdotal evidence. We learn most through storytelling. Marketing is storytelling. All the greatest businesses and brands, they know how to get their story across. And they also know how to define how their story relates to our story, which then, compels us to opt in, right? It's the same thing with your content. It's the same thing. We are all treasure troves of a very unique experience. I think we have an obligation to share our story with the world. And here's another thing too, guys. We don't exist. None of us exist until we understand each other's story. I've said this many, many times, that all the people that you pass, through the hallways and byways of life, maybe that person that you look over to the left at the stop sign, you don't know who these people, you could care less who those people are until I know their story. Then they matter. Then they exist. Right? So if you want to exist I mean, you have to exist before you can even grab attention, before you can even grow something, before you can advance your career, before you can grow your business. You have to exist. You've got to understand this is all about sharing your authentic story so people can relate to that. There's a reason why storytelling is so magnifying and electrifying. There's a reason why as kids, we love stories, and we still love stories in our adulthood, right? It's all about that. And so this is a fancy phrase. I've said it before, personal branding or ICA. These are all fancy phrases. Right. It really comes down to these three things. Who are you? I need to know who you are. Why should I pay attention to you? And what problem can you solve? If you guys write those three things down, everybody watching right now, who are you? You need to identify that mindset. Why should I pay attention to you? What's your story? And then how can you solve my problem? You're going to be successful at anything in life, whether it be professional or whether it be personal. You know, you want to ask that girl out on a date. You want to marry somebody. You want to build a family. I need to know who you are and why should I pay attention to you? And also, what problem can you solve? How can we work well together? I mean, marriages are almost like businesses, aren't they? I mean, how do we work well together? How are we mutually benefiting each other? I mean, of course, love rules the world. Okay. I'm not taking away from that, but how do you sustain that is through what I'm talking about.
For sure. So, I mean, being on the forefront of one of the number one consultants on LinkedIn and personal branding and what have you.
Wait a minute. One of the number one. It's the number one, Dave.
The number one.
I'm just kidding.
But you know what? That's a big difference. Considering how many people are on LinkedIn, right?
What do you mean a number one? It's the number one, man.
I know. So, what are you seeing right now? Like, what is the biggest question that Nez Nation is bringing to Professor Nez? What is the biggest question in today's time of COVID that is driving questions for you? And then we'll get into a couple comments. I see Anthony showed up.
Yeah, Anthony's in the house. Good to see you, Anthony. What is the number one question that my audience is asking me right now currently?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. You know, I get all sorts of questions a lot. You know, my whole platform is about mindset and messaging. And so a lot of people want to know how to navigate job search right now with coronavirus. Obviously, it's really important. A lot of people right now want to know how to start their own thing, which is beautiful. And so it's really, that's a really good question, Dave, because it kind of revolves around these three things. Number one, how do I get a job right now with this craziness? Number two is, what if I wanted to do my own thing, Nez? You've obviously been doing it for a long time. How do I do that? And then number three is, how do I avoid, the anxiety that's happening right now? Because there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of mental health stuff. And I don't know if you guys know this about me or not, but I'm somebody, way before Miles's age. Miles is 30?
Yep.
I suffered from debilitating anxiety and depression as a young man from 18 to 29. I went through hell with this guy right here. And one of the impetuses for starting my YouTube channel, I'm very serious about my YouTube channel. It's an educational channel, was I wanted to share what I've learned about this guy inside your dome and how to overcome that. And I did all the traditional things first. I took all the pills. I went and saw all the doctors. None of it worked for me. I'm not saying it can't work for you, but what worked for me was actually being a practitioner, not only just studying the mind, but figuring out real, organic, non-biological only biological methods to circumvent this. And, so I get a lot of people ask me, Nez, I'm experiencing a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. So I talk a lot about that too, because I don't think you can run a business. I don't think you can have a brand if you don't have a solid foundation. And Miles, like you said, it starts with what's in between your ears, and it starts with what's in your chest, your mind and your heart. That's everything. And so those are the two things I talk about most with Nez Nation, is mindset and messaging.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're big topics, especially in today's day and age. What's going on, for sure. Well, I love it. So let's get into saying hello to a couple other people that have joined in. Anthony, I always love when Anthony. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Tuning in from New Jersey. I'm going to highlight on Anthony just for a second. I know you guys spoke, but Anthony started following us. I don't know. You can tell me, Anthony, how long ago it was, but within the last year or so. Anthony really wanted to switch from where he was in his traditional construction arena to the offsite arena. and he's a bit of an introvert, like we were talking about. He started chiming in on all the shows. He started connecting with all the people on the shows, and every show is different. I talk about Anthony a lot because it's impressive what he's done and how he's wrangled his way into being somebody within Offsite just through the community online here. So credit to Anthony where Anthony's due. Anthony, we'll bring you back on. You ready? Don't hide. Where are you?
Anthony, that was so much fun talking to Anthony. Anthony's a great gentleman, and I had such a pleasure, Anthony, talking to you. And Anthony's been visiting some of our Nez Nation lives. By the way, if I may, just a shameless plug.
Go ahead.
Every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, we do an office hours with yours truly, your personal branding coach, Professor Nez. It's live. I answer all your questions on air. So it's literally office hours with yours truly every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'd love to see you there.
I love it. Anthony said, thanks guys for everything. Relentless.
Yes.
Yes. For you, Anthony.
What I like about Anthony, it's a good lesson in personal branding or whatever, right? Is that a lot of people would say what Anthony would say, that they want something, they want to make the switch, but he's executing on it. He's taking an active role. He's not just talking about it, not saying one day I will, or hopefully this happens. He's making it happen. And that's the biggest thing, that you can't just strategize and talk. You have to put in the work. And he's a great example of what happens when you put in.
And you know what? Beautifully said, Miles. Here's another thing, just to kind of piggyback on what we were talking about earlier, Miles, about getting started. Look at the people within your specific niche. What are they doing well? You gotta, it amazes me how many times people say, I want to be a YouTuber. And I say, how much YouTube do you actually watch? And they say, oh, I don't have time for that stuff. Well, how are you going to know what the platform wants? If you want to be on LinkedIn, if you want to be on Facebook or whatever platform, you've got to study the greats, okay? It's just like any composer, any football player. Look, if I wanted to play basketball right now and I was a young up-and-coming basketball player, I would watch The Last Dance 10 times, a month, because that is so inspiring. I remember being a kid, and I played varsity basketball when I was much better shape a long time ago. This is way before most of you were born. I remember watching my hero, Magic Johnson. He was such an inspiration. You gotta take a look at some of the people in your niche, whatever, and you can take bits, not stealing, just being inspired. Like, ooh, I like how she did this, or I like how she did that. I like how he did this, but I'm not so sure about that. Take bits and pieces and try to incorporate that in your own presentation. So that's another thing too for getting started. And Tom, I want to answer your question in just a second. It's all about, it's all about execution, like you said, Miles. And don't be afraid to look at what other people in your niche are doing and glean some insights into that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take that question from Tom.
Okay, Tom says, Nez, is the sharing of your story done one person at a time, or do you have some tips to grab large audiences? Here's the beautiful thing, Tom, is as soon as you put yourself out there, you've got potential to reach massive audiences. I know I've worked with some clients, they put out 1 or 2 videos. I mean, there's some YouTube channels where they literally have 6 videos and they've already got 1 million subscribers. How? By identifying everything that we talked about, Tom. Who are you?
Yep.
Why should I pay attention to you? What is it? Here's the biggest thing. I call this the Kennedy principle. Ask not what your audience can do for you, but what you can do for your audience. Whether that's an employer, customer, client, lead, audience, doesn't matter. Always be serving. Make it about them. If you look at every single one of my videos and my live stream, I don't start with, hi, I'm Professor Nez, top LinkedIn consultant, personal branding coach, professor at top private universities. I don't start with that. You know what I start with? I start with you. Hey, are you struggling to grow your brand? Are you looking for more leads? Are you looking for more clients? Are you frustrated that you can't grow your online business? Start with them. Make it all about them. Here's a sad fact that a lot of people don't realize, and maybe it sounds a little harsh. Nobody cares about you. Nobody does. You have to understand human nature. They're always thinking about what's in it for them first. Okay. And so it's funny that it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. Always be serving and always be giving. Yes, that's how you want to do it. But also you have to understand that when you're doing that for your audience, okay, and when you're doing that, you need to dissect what is their challenges, what are their pain points, what are their frustrations, because people want their problems to be solved, okay? So you look at all my videos, especially my last 20, 30 videos on YouTube, my last 10, 15 live streams on LinkedIn. I always start within this is the most important part of your content, is the first 5 seconds, not first 10 seconds, not first 20 seconds, the first 5 seconds. Make it about them, and then you grab their attention, then you guide them along, okay, and you deliver on that promise. You're going to win.
I agree. I love all these different formats I can put you guys in. This is my Brady Bunch format.
Yes. I'm not Marsha. Don't make me Marsha.
Especially when we have it all filled in. So listen, Tom, I hope he answered your question for you. Tom is with Synergy Steel as and a big opponent and a big supporter. We love it when Tom's hanging out with us. It's always a lot of fun. All right, so I know you have to run in about 8 minutes. So let's kind of nail a couple things. So if we're on LinkedIn right now, what would be the number one thing on somebody's profile you would tell them to look at immediately and make sure it's right?
On their LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
Their banner page. That's the first thing people see. Understand the psychology of what people see first. And most people have that default, I call it the big blue nothing. Right. You got to take advantage. That is very valuable real estate. This is where you can reel them in. So make sure you have not just a picture of the mountains. That doesn't do anything for me. Don't have a picture of you and your kids. This isn't Facebook. This isn't Instagram. Don't have a picture of you fishing in Lake Tahoe. That doesn't do anything for me. It needs to be something of a value prop, okay? What is the value that you propose to bring to me? And Tom, if you're still here, make sure you come check out our show on Sundays. I hope you're there, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, okay? You can ask me all the questions you want. I'll answer all of them. Yeah. So that's the first thing. The first thing is make sure, Dave and Miles, that you identify that banner page, which it's almost like a website. Yeah. So thank you so much for the screen share, Dave. Yeah. So most people have that, that section, that top section, the banner. Most people have that big blue nothing that I was talking about. This is very, very valuable real estate. So take advantage of that space. You can use, thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate you. You can use beautiful platforms that are free like easel.com. You can use canva.com. There's a lot of free stock photo images that you can take like Pexels, Unsplash. There's a lot of great free stock stuff. So really tactical advice here. And just think about the audience, think about the viewer, think about your ideal target audience, whether that's an employer or a lead. What's going to compel them to keep scrolling further? That's the key.
Love it. Thank you so much. Miles, what do you got for us? We've got a few more minutes. I know you're itching to jump in here. Oh, did I lose him?
See you later, Miles.
That was it for Miles. I think you scared him, man.
I did.
That was horrible timing. It was like, hey, Miles.
I lost you. Where you at?
You can't see me, though.
That's okay. I can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
This is funny. You ever watch Brian Shulman's show where he uses the characters?
Oh, yeah, of course. Voice Your Vibe. Me and Brian go way back. He's been on my podcast, too.
Yeah. Well, I figured out. It's funny. I figured out how he did it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun watching him. So, Miles, you are the dark ghost right now. So
I have no idea what happened.
He's gone dark.
That's gone dark. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, honestly, Dave, for everybody watching, the biggest thing that you want to understand with your LinkedIn profile is do not treat your LinkedIn profile as if it's, a social media site. It's not a social media site. This is the number one business platform for business people, professionals, career enthusiasts, and career professionals. So think of this. I liken it to the number one online network cocktail party. And so think of your LinkedIn profile as your virtual business card. The next time you go to a party and somebody says, hey, Miles, what do you do for a living? Instead of coming up with a clever answer, or like me, I've got 50 things that I do. You know what I say? I say, hey, you got your phone? Yeah. Pull it out. You got the LinkedIn app? Yep. Search Professor Nez. You'll learn everything about me right there. Boom. You know what? You guys check it out. Next time you go to a cocktail party or a networking event, you don't have to remember anything about who you are, what you do, or anything. Just have them pull out your LinkedIn app. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, and the LinkedIn app actually lets you connect with everybody in the room too. If
you could do a QR code, you can scan. I mean, you guys, I'm so jealous of you young people because we're living in the greatest era of all time. If you don't have kids right now, or you're young, or maybe you're just starting your life and your family and business, this is the greatest time to be alive. It's insanity right now how easy it is to build something that you can do what you love. You don't have to, the days of doing what you hate in our father's generation and maybe even our generation too, we all did stuff that we hate. I've had jobs where I couldn't stand Mondays. That era is over, and that's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, this is something, hello from Illinois. So it shows up on LinkedIn, but it doesn't show up on StreamYard. This happened to me when I joined your stream as well, Nez. But it's from E. Judes, SF from Illinois.
Yes, that has to do with your privacy settings.
Yeah.
So if you don't want, if your public settings are set to private on LinkedIn, great to see you, E. Jude. E. Jude is an awesome member of the Nez Nation family, as well as all you are now. You're all inducted in the Nez Nation family. Yeah, that has to do with the privacy settings. So if you have your profile set on not public view or what have you, I forget what the toggle is. I've been on public so long I forget that it will not show up publicly on certain live streams. So yeah,
and I think there's actually another link, because when it happened to me, I think I said me and you said you, and I went and looked because I know mine's public. I haven't been able to figure it out, so I'm not sure why.
Oh really? So yours is set to, your profile's set to public?
Yep.
It could just be, it could be another, if you go into your settings, not to kind of pontificate on this, but if you go in your settings, there should be how you're viewed on LinkedIn, or how others can share your profile. There should be a way to put that all to public, or give StreamYard permission to use it.
I think it's outside of the platform.
Right.
There's the public in the platform, and then I think there's another section, but I don't know. Could just be a little glitch we have her, because actually Jude just put back up. She's asking, can you see my face? Not here.
No, we can't see your face. You always see is the gray missing link, which I know you look a lot prettier than that.
I set mine to public profile picture. Yes. So, well, listen, Professor.
See, it shows up on LinkedIn. It just doesn't show up on StreamYard. She just sent me a message.
Yeah, it does. It does show up. It's just not on StreamYard. We'll have to figure that out, because that's happened to me twice now, and I don't want that either.
It could be something to do with StreamYard. I mean, StreamYard is a new partner of LinkedIn's.
Yeah.
They just recently, which is awesome, they just recently allowed comments. So I'm sure there's kinks, and it'll get figured out, I'm sure.
Well, it's interesting, before you go, one thing that's really interesting about our audience, it's in the Dave Cooper Live and the Big's Ideas, we have a lot of professional executives and higher level people that watch us, and they get the social media somewhat and technology, but it's kind of funny. You'd be surprised when people tune in and chime in. They're watching. That's the thing. They're watching, which people don't understand. And it's just fun when I see Greg Ugaldi and George and Tom Reddy. These are pretty big players in our industry, and they're a lot of fun to have around. And I'm sure Anthony Good's going to be up there with the rock stars before too long if he keeps going the way he's going. But it's an honor having you on, Nez.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you were saying, this is another. I'm going to tell you just a really quick story before we go here, if I can, Miles and Dave. So I had somebody who had been watching my Facebook videos, which I do a lot of micro content, and I do a lot of reposting.
Right.
And this gentleman, he'd been watching my Facebook videos for 5 years, and he never commented, not once. He never commented. He never liked. He never did anything. Next thing I know, I get a ping on my email that he purchased one of my packages, one of my services. And I noticed we weren't connected on LinkedIn. So I asked him, because most of my stuff comes from LinkedIn, and not anymore, but most of it did. And I remember asking him, I was saying, hey, do you mind if I ask? Because I'm always curious. Well, how did you find me or how did you discover me? And that's when he told me, he said, Nez, I've been watching your videos for 5 years on Facebook. I love every single one of them. I'm not a big commenter. I don't like commenting. I'm not one of these people who likes to do that, but I've just been kind of watching passively.
Yeah.
And that's how I discovered you. So the reason I'm saying this, listen to this very carefully, guys. Your videos, people worry about the wrong thing when they produce videos. They worry about views, subscribers. They worry about all these things, sometimes known as vanity metrics. You never know. It's not about reaching masses. Tom, I hope you're still here, Tom. All you need to do is reach that one right individual, whether it's a company, whether it's a business, or whoever. All you need is just that one right person to catch it that can change your life. Because you know what's funny, Dave, is this guy, and Miles, this guy who'd been watching my Facebook videos for 5 years, not only did he purchase one of my packages, but he also referred me to about 10 other people because he was so happy with my branding consulting service that he referred me to 10 other people. And literally, I was set with my quota for almost half the year. This was a while ago, but I'm telling you, the point is, don't worry about the wrong things. Like Miles said, do, execute. Even if you think it sucks, let your audience decide. Don't be your own worst enemy. Get out of your own way. I am living proof that this stuff works. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing original about me. There's nothing unique about Nez. The only difference between me and you is I know this stuff works and I do it every single day.
Yeah, I 100%. I agree with you 100%. It changed my life dramatically in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. Love it. I mean, we're living proof. We're not just talking about this. We're living proof.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Hey, Professor Nez, listen, one last time. Let me put it up there. Join them every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Eastern, live on the Professor Nez. What's the name of the show?
Office Hours with Professor Nez.
Office Hours with Professor Nez. I may be joining your office. I'm going to come in and I'm going to.
Please do. Please do. I'll bring you in the chat too. I'll bring you in if you want to.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and if you see me show up, just ask and I will be there, my friend.
Awesome.
Listen, just real quick, Tom Reddy said, thank you for the information. We always seem to overthink.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, Tom. Hope to see you Sunday, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, we have a whole lot of stuff. So, all right, everybody, blessed to have everybody here with us today. Had a lot of fun. Professor, we'll have you on again soon. Hopefully, I'll get the outro right this time because I hit the wrong button on the intro end. We'll see you. Bye now.
Thank you, guys.